Ready? Alright, today we're going to look at some guitar speakers. Jensen Alnico 5. That's your manufacturer's code for Jensen 220. And you can see this is a P10Q. 10 inch, the Q is about the voice coil diameter. There's a couple of things I wanted to show you. What's happening on these speakers, they're hitting 40, 50 years old. We're seeing the glue lift up off the dust cap here, and also the glue that holds down the dressing on the voice coil where it attaches to the lead. And then eventually you'll see axial and radial cracks on this paper edge, because notice this is an integral paper suspension and there's no doping compound on there. It's dry, and some of them, the old guitar speakers, you'll see that way. It's a one-piece cone. There's no seam in it, which is another failure area. Also notice the basket's enclosed. You can't get in there really. There's no access. So when we want to get in here and look at this joint where the spider attaches to the voice coil form on this style of frame, we can't really get in there. It's going to cause some problems as far as being able to get in there and stop these buzzes. Now this is what happens on these old speakers. They'll start to buzz. The guitar player will say, oh, it's just only here in this one frequency, this one note. And most guitar players don't really know how to talk about it in any other way than that. So you have to go look for it, and if you put it on your generator, and you don't, right now we're running a few watts, so you don't get it turned up very loud, and you sweep, and you go back to your guitar player and say, well, I didn't find anything wrong with it. Well, guitar players are going to put more energy into it than that, so let's see what happens when we crank it up a bit. Alright, notice this. Now the buzz has gone away. Okay, what's that mean? Well, it means the buzz is not being caused by this glue bead on the dust cap, and it's not being caused by this edge either. What's happening, it's the voice coil itself. There's real tight tolerance in the gap there, and as this paper edge starts to break down over 50 years of vibrational modes run through it, it's losing its ability to hold everything in alignment. And so at certain frequencies, you're going to get rubs. Now, what I would do on this one normally, and I want to show you one other thing down here. Look at how this glue bead that holds on the cap, and that's a hard glue. Now look at the edge of it. Look how it's curling up. Look at that. See, as this glue dries over these years, all these decades, it starts to curl up as it gets completely dried, and it starts pulling away from the paper right there. Now see, you'll start to get buzzes out of that, and the same way here where the lead wires are dressed. Now if I was trying to get this one not to do that, I would cut the dust cap off carefully with an X-Acto knife. I would use shims to recenter it. I would re-glue the voice coil spider cone joint. And with the shim still in, I'd come out here and I'd very lightly put a doping compound on this edge to help reinforce the structural strength there. And also, you'd have to really look under some magnification here, but you'll see this edge is starting to break down, and it'll eventually start to crack. And that doping compound will prevent that and give it some more years of life. Now let me show you some other things here. Here's a bit of a newer guitar speaker. American Vintage, it says Warehouse Sound. Warehouse is the manufacturer. A WGS 12L, and this is meant to be a copy of an Electro Voice 12L, which original Electro Voice 12Ls made pretty good guitar speakers if you were looking for that kind of tone. Original bass Mesa Boogie started out with the Altec 417s. It couldn't handle the power. They went to the JBL 120, and some people like that tone, some people don't, and they settled in on the Electro Voice 12L, originally rated at 200 watts. Let me show you a couple of things about this. The motor and the frame it's pretty faithful to the magnet size and everything. It's pretty faithful to the original 2.5-inch coil Electro Voice. But look how much form sticks up above this glue joint. Now, you might be familiar with some old technology called a whizzer cone, where you had another cone set on top of the voice coil that came out, and that was to extend the high frequency passively. This much form of this is most likely capped on. This much form sticking up here is going to act like a whizzer cone. It's going to make noise. This is, in my opinion, a design flaw. All you simply have to do, Warehouse Sound, all you need to do here is go to the people that make the voice coils for you and tell them they're using too tall of a form material. You need to shorten the height of this form to where it just barely sticks up past where you want this glue joint. You need to cut this back at least 1/4 inch. Now look, I'm hearing this zing you get on the top of certain, as the note tails off, you get this zinging sound, and that's the whizzer cone effect. Notice this is a 2-piece. Now the first thing I'm going to look for here, because like I said, this form is too long, it's going to sing, it's going to act like a whizzer cone, but it's 2 layers, so I'm going to go around and make sure these layers aren't delaminating, because they'll vibrate against each other like a double reed, and that'll cause a problem. But it looks like it's put together pretty well there, so that's not the problem. But in the course of doing this, look what I noticed here. Look at this. Look how the form is breaking away from that epoxy. Look at that. It's not adhering right up to there, so we're going to get this vibrational mode, and you can see that right there where the epoxy is not getting a good hold on this Kapton. There may be some release agent on that Kapton or some other material that's preventing this bead here from adhering. See how the knife blade goes down in there? Maybe they should change to a different type of adhesive. Obviously, we've cut the dust cap off here. A couple of things to say about when you cut a dust cap off. You want to be really careful. You want to be careful that you don't get your knife blade down in here and cut through the cone. And you also want to know where the lead wires are. You want to see where they're attached before you start cutting in here. And you want to make sure that as you come across with your knife, that you don't cut that lead in half. In this case, we've got a lot of clearance, and we got clearance with the cone. So as long as you keep your knife blade shallow, don't let it go in very far, and keep this angle like this, then you're able to cut off the cap without cutting into the cone or cutting the lead wires. So after we remove the cap, we're looking, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take out some of this form material. There again, I don't want to cut that lead, so I'm going to be careful. Look around in here and make sure there's nothing on this side. And I'm going to cut that down. I'm going to cut that down just like that, and I'm going to come around here. And then when I get that cut, I'm going to come in here with my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to work my way all the way around here. And I'm going to remove this form that's acting as a whizzer cone. When I get this all out of the way, I'll come in and remove. Obviously I can't, you know, get in here too close to where the leads are. I'm going to take out that piece too. Right, I'm going to get this out of here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use plastic shims to make sure the voice coil is centered properly. I'm going to go all the way around with my shims. Then I'm going to overcoat this glue bead. I'm going to use another glue that adheres to this Kapton and will adhere to this glue. And I'm going to bring that glue bead up right up to the edge of this. I'm going to come all the way around, and I'm going to make that a unified piece where we don't have the edge of this form singing and acting like a whizzer cone. One other note on this: this is not an original Electro Voice 12L cone, and this is not the original Electro Voice suspension material here either. This is more like an EV DL or DLX. So this is never going to sound quite exactly like a 12L. It's a different cone and it's a different suspension, and it has a different compound on it. So after we get this re-glued, we'll run it on the generator and see if we've got rid of that little zinging tail that it put on some of these notes.